Today we're here with Professor Nate Holder, who is a multiple education award winner, an author, a musician, a consultant, and also a creator of the Y books. What are the Y books?
Essentially, the Y books are a series of books that aim to illuminate the stories and music of people whose stories and music aren't really told that much. So one of the books was looking at Black women who have made classical music,
Yes.
which is a book that didn't really exist before. And the aim of that is just to give it to, especially to young people, so that they grow up knowing that there are people out there who exist who have made incredible music in many different ways.
Creating space for people who did not have voices necessarily before. How did you get inspired to do that?
I think a lot of that just comes from personal experiences of
Yeah.
being in class, not even just music, but just in general in education, and just really seeing figures and music and the histories that reflected my own culture and the culture of some of my friends as well, who I was at school with. And so over time, the ideas of just writing some of this stuff down just started to happen,
Yeah.
and just stepping out into that literary world and creating books was kind of in lockdown was like, all right, cool, you've got a bit of time now, so
Yeah.
you can actually try and actually do it. And yeah, it's been a whirlwind since then.
How did your journey with music start in the first place? Because when you and I met in 2012 or 13, and I knew when I had met you, you were a teaching assistant, but you were
Yeah,
also a musician.
yeah.
When did that journey start?
The music journey started from just being a kid. I think for many of us, we grow up at home and
Yeah.
you're singing a lot, and you're tapping, do those things, and then being in school, getting just lessons and stuff, interacting with music. But then being at church was probably like the foundation of a lot of stuff, because that was just that space where we were singing. There was music that we were singing and we were playing often, and then you're doing it with friends as well, which definitely helped kind of just keep us focused, I think, a lot of the time. And yeah, eventually over time, that just became more and more a bigger part of my identity.
Yeah.
And then again, realizing that, hey, there's this great music that's happening over here, not happening in school. So like, how comes there are these two worlds that I'm inhabiting both of them, but they don't ever come together? So why is that? And
Yeah.
in what ways could it actually be really cool to have those two worlds interact with each other? And so
Do you play other instruments other than saxophone?
yeah, I started playing the piano and clarinet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I dabble in a bit of flute as well here and there. But
Do you find that sometimes you become inspired because you've been creating books to create this representation, that you now are also curious about other ways in which you can influence musical culture?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's just that whole idea of what research does, right? I think
Because you have been researching now.
yeah, like researching, learning outside of writing the books and stuff, it just helps to inform me that there's so much out there, right? So much out there that I didn't know, so much out there that I thought I knew in one context, but then reading about something else, you realize actually there's so much more to that thing. So it's just a never ending journey, and it's kind of caused me to grow in certain ways, I think, just being much more open to many different ways of knowing and being as a musician, and understanding what those things, what it means to interact with music as well.
And obviously, I think a lot of people are inspired by that because this is your first North American speaking tour,
Yeah,
and you've had a
yeah,
chance to present now at University of Toronto, Wilfrid Laurier, and you're soon doing York University.
yeah.
Could you have ever anticipated that this is how
Nah,
far the books could have
nah,
gone?
not at all. There are moments, and I'm sure many people watching this have that same feeling. There are things that you really want to do, and it's like this burning kind of passion. Like, all
Yeah.
right, this is on my heart, and if I don't do this, I will regret not doing this, right? And so it's just been that journey of being very, in some ways, introspective and listening to those voices that are saying, actually do this thing, like do it now. Because if you don't do it, maybe someone else will do it. Or
Yeah.
if you don't do it, maybe no one else will do it. And you
Yeah.
don't know what impact it could have. So just go ahead and do it. And it's been amazing to see books being bought and read in so many countries around the world, like UAE, talking about in New Zealand, Australia, in Japan.
How far have your
It's
books gone?
it's all over the
Because it's
place.
been, it's initially was in the UK.
Yeah,
How far did it go?
you can find some of the books all over the place. So in some libraries, in some universities, they're there. In some primary schools, in a couple of nurseries, I think have got a
Yeah.
few as well. So they've been quite widespread, which has been amazing. It's been incredible to see and to hear that people are still interacting with some of the stuff that I've written over the last few years.
Yeah. Was there an experience that you didn't anticipate that you would have, that you have had now, where you're like, oh, okay, this is amazing. Either as a musician or as the creator of the Y books.
I think one of the most interesting things has been a poem that I wrote a few years ago, and knowing that even being at this OMEA conference just the other day, knowing that so many people came up to me and was like, "Oh, I used my poem in my classes."
Oh,
Undergrads, they have to interact with your poem. Like, yes, that's one of the first things that we do, and that blows my mind because it was something that I wrote that it has significance for me, and I didn't
yeah,
really, once
realize.
you kind of put something out there in the world, it's in some ways it's no longer yours, right?
Exactly.
And
You're
it's
putting it out into the universe, saying, like, will somebody resonate with this? And maybe you haven't even anticipated whether
yeah,
or not it is a relationship that people will have with this poem because it was yours.
yeah,
And
exactly.
then afterwards, when it's put out into the world, you see echoes of yourself and your ideologies and maybe things that you grew up with, where other people also feel that deeply. And then maybe it's not something you anticipated.
Not at all. Like, not at all. I thought, to be honest, there might be some interaction with it, and then as things go, it's like kind of that bell curve, right?
The
But
reason I'm laughing as well is because at the beginning of this, I said, Sayo, are you an inspiration leader? And you said, no, I'm not. I was like, feels inspirational to me because we've come a long way from when you and I had first met,
yeah,
where I just knew you as a saxophonist who went around Germany, who speaks German as well. So this become a very long way because I wouldn't have anticipated, oh, he's interested in also writing books. But I mean, it would make sense because
but
if
what you
you've been
didn't
that,
know at that time, I was writing a book while I
I
was,
had no idea.
yeah. So honestly,
And I've
we
always
would
wanted to write a book too, but I was like, and I remember asking you, Nate, what do I do? I've always wanted to do this. But perhaps it was me asking questions so we could get to this point.
maybe,
So
yeah,
I could be
like,
interviewing you about your books, and then
yeah.
afterwards I do mine. Then you can be the inspirational leader that I've said that you are, even if you
I,
say
I
you're
was
not.
I was writing during lunchtime. Like,
That's amazing.
it was that routine of, all right, it's lunchtime now. I'd get my lunch in the morning,
Yeah,
and I'd eat for 10 minutes, and then the rest of the time I'd be sitting there just writing, just writing, because that was the time I had to
yeah.
just to do that, and that's what I did for months. Yeah,
Did you have people who were supporting you along this journey?
there's always been people who support for sure in different ways, whether it's just checking in, like how's the book going or something, which
Yeah,
is it was helpful. It's just that another level of accountability,
yeah.
and then obviously family have always supported everything, which I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for them. There's no way. And yeah, friends, family.
What is your favorite grounding tool that you keep coming back to?
I think there's a couple, but I think the one that I am leaning on the most right now is playing.
It's amazing.
And that, yeah, that's like understanding how my instrument can be not only something that I might try and constantly get better at, but something that I can do, I can pick up, I can do, and just be in that moment. You know what I mean? And it just allows me to have that escape from whatever it is, just for half an hour, for 2 hours, for 3 hours, if
Yeah,
I'm lucky, to just dive into that world of the saxophone and just be experimenting with scales or chords, or just improvising and learning a song or something, and just being in that moment. And for a period of time, that's just the sole focus.
yeah. What is that one small thing that you look forward to every day?
My daughter's smile. Yeah, yeah, every day. I look forward to seeing
She's
that little smile.
beautiful.
Thank you.
I really am so genuinely happy for you. And I love that we've known each other for so long. So there's been these different transitions of life. I don't even know what they're called.
Stages,
Cycles,
cycles,
stages.
yeah,
Yeah. And then there's
moments,
a
yeah,
deeper and more enriching understanding of how we know each other and the evolutions of self. But that's beautiful. Oh, that's
yeah.
right. That's cute. Do you identify with a purpose? And if so, what is that?
I think it always changes, and I think there are multiple purpose. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's a word.
Purposes.
Yeah. I think definitely one of them that I think runs through the themes of so many of the stuff that I'm doing is highlighting being someone who can try as much as possible to highlight the stories, the musics, and histories of people whose stories don't often get told. I think that's definitely purpose for me in so much that I do, that it's about that. It's about being able to be someone, being very privileged to be in a position where I can do that, and will continue to do that for those who for different reasons maybe can't, or even sometimes don't want to. I mean,
Yeah. You performed with the Arkells.
Yeah.
Where did that, is that the biggest band that you have performed with?
I think it's definitely the biggest North American band for sure.
Which is amazing because now coming back, well, I have this your first time in Canada?
Third, third time.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So coming back then to North America, it's nice because you've already almost had a taste of North America from
Yeah, yeah,
before.
yeah.
Like this is our North American music. Because I met you the last time in 2019, actually performing with the Arkells.
Yes.
Interesting enough, and I
Gosh,
actually had
wow,
not
yeah.
known who they were, even though they were Canadian. You introduced me to them, and I saw you with them on stage. I'm like, oh, and now we know who they are.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
amazing. What was that experience like?
It was one of the best stories of my life because it was absolutely unplanned. I was on a plane coming back from Germany.
Yeah,
I finished playing in Germany, and I was just sitting next to this guy, and I just got good vibes from him. So I don't normally speak to. I'm not that one who's
strangers.
like, yeah. So, but we started talking, and we spoke for the whole flight. It was
Yeah,
literally like an hour and a half. We were just talking nonstop about just so many different things. And at the end of it, he was just like, "Oh, dude, like we're performing. Do you want to come and hang? Maybe like sitting on a song." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So he was like, "Yeah, so take my number, and we'll send you some of the stuff." I was like, "Yeah, cool." And I was just like, yeah, cool. I'm gonna go down. Like he's a cool guy. Like I met a couple of guys. Like
yeah,
yeah, cool. And then I think he sent me something, and I was like, okay, I don't know this band. Let me look them up on Instagram or something. And I was like, oh, damn, okay. Like
yeah.
these guys are
Because you didn't know who they were before
not at
either.
all, not at all. Because I mean, and I think this kind of speaks to who they are and who this was. Anthony from Arkells. He just such a humble guy. Didn't lead with, oh yeah, so I play with this band and this is what we do. He
Hmm.
was just like, I'm a musician, and we were just talking about just being musicians,
Yeah.
and just that was it. And yeah, we went up on stage and played, and then they came back the next year, and I played with them again. So
I'm
yeah,
gonna have to
it's
see where I
just
know that I know I have that clip somewhere. I don't know where it is. I don't know if you'll have it, but I do have a
yeah.
clip of you playing with them. I remember it
I've
was
got it
incredible
somewhere. Yeah,
because the
and
whole
I can
like
never forget it. It was
yeah, it was a wonderful experience, and I really thank you for inviting me to it. I wish I'd been able to come a bit more to the UK because it would be better than every 3 years or every 4 years.
yeah,
Because I feel like that's what it's been like. The first time I was what 2012, and then we must have met again, and then it was
yeah.
2019 afterwards as
2019,
well.
and
Yeah,
then now, yeah,
in 2023.
yeah,
Hopefully, it's like there's becoming
yeah, yeah,
shorter
yeah,
shorter like
exactly, yeah.
streams in between. All right, cool. Was there a piece of advice that you'd like to leave behind to anybody else?
Sure, sure. I think
Since you're a teacher for a long time.
I think one of the things I can honestly say has helped me it has been to be clear about what I'm trying to do. I tried a lot of different things, even writing wise, and I think I realized that once I was kind of clear about what I wanted to do, plus understanding the idea of, I think there are opportunities that come about,
Hmm.
and listening to that voice that kind of is like guiding you to say this is a moment that you need to capitalize on. There's been so many little things in my life where I've got this contact from this person and it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
great, I should stay in touch with them, and I just didn't. Or go to this thing and I just didn't do it. And I think the writing thing for me, I was practicing writing for a while
Yeah.
because I knew that was something I wanted to kind of get into. But ultimately, I think it was just knowing I want to eliminate some certain voices. It's within music, combining the history element, great. But then also there was a moment, and for me it was lockdown. It was the opportunity to like, okay, now's the time. I don't know when I'm gonna have time next to sit for a couple of months and just do
Hmm.
this. So just do it. And it was a sacrifice in many different ways, but ultimately it wasn't. I was because of COVID and everything that was happening, all the financial stress of all that. It's like, but purpose was there, and it was like, all right, cool. Finish that project, just do it,
Yeah.
and see what happens from there. And it's been incredible. So yeah, just I think as much as you can, just figure out and refine down to a really clear vision of what you want to do, and then work hard at that. And then if the opportunities come, then just dive head first into it as much as you can.
And start saying yes to a lot more things
Yeah,
because you
start
never
saying
know
yes.
where an opportunity might lead.
You have no idea. Just
Yeah.
go for it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.